Okay, my friends, this is going to be very, very interesting. I've been studying the immune system, enzymes, T cells, bile, thymus, all the different secretions of all the different organs in the body, which secrete enzymes. Right? Enzymes do all the work in your body, literally all the work. 100% of the work in your body has to have an enzyme in order to do the molecular chemistry. It's absolutely 100% required. Now, I'm looking into the Human Microbiome Project. I have been for many years now. What actually makes up your human microbiome? And the microbiome is the bacteria. The bacteria are the factories that create the enzymes. The enzymes do all the chemistry. So if you don't have the bacteria, you will not get the enzyme. That is the thing to think of right now to this presentation. If you do not have the bacteria in your body, you will not get the enzyme. Let's talk about the enzyme, because I just found out, and I just finally realized, enzymes are T cells. The T cells are the killer cells. They're the attack cells that kill cancers and so forth. They just have renamed them T cells. These are the enzymes. I couldn't believe it when I figured it out. It's just unbelievable. But that's true. Now, I'm not just doing this on my own. I have a whole variety of sources around the world that I'm working with. One of them is Andy Marino. Now, he was speaking at this conference, and this is a conference. It's Let Noble Thoughts Come from All Directions. Now, this is Andy right here, and he was an event speaker. Dr. Marino has successfully supported scientific applications in genetic engineering and testing with major organizations, North America, Mexico, China, or everywhere in the world. Now, he's a triple PhD, and all of these direct experience with the following, all of these kind of things. A PhD in management of engineering, technology, molecular diagnostics. Andy is top of the end of the spectrum of understanding bacteria. And he runs, he's got his own company, and they run a whole series of laboratories that are in food processing factories and stuff coming into the country to make sure that it's not contaminated. And however they do that, I can't comment, but he does have laboratories in all of these different places. And the last I knew, a long time ago, he had 19. I don't know what he's got now as far as laboratories, but that's what he does in his company. Now, I'm going to have a conference call with him later today to discuss this new finding about the T cells and the enzymes and all of that stuff. And then hopefully somebody will listen to Andy, because he's a triple PhD. He's not a guy to be discounted. Now, if he says I'm crazy, well, I'm crazy. If he says, well, Roger, no, I've worked with him for years, and I know he won't say I'm crazy. He might say, well, you know, that's fine. That's what I want. I want to be able to discuss it and find out my weaknesses. If I have weaknesses, I certainly want to know them. And that's what I'm going to do with Andy today. All right, so that'll be later, and I don't know, probably won't go out today, but this is all about your immune system. This is everybody. This is everybody. This is your kids. This is autism. This is Parkinson's. This is Alzheimer's. This is all the different gut issues and diarrhea and constipation and all that. It's all related to the way your digestive system works, which is all related to the enzymes, which is all related to the bacteria. That's the root of virtually all this. You know, this sounds exactly like what an enzyme is. They're calling them T cells. What are T cells? Well, here's what they say they are. T cells are a part of the immune system that focuses in on specific foreign particles. It's a specific missile, and it comes right in on a certain target, which is certain chemistry. Now, that's exactly what an enzyme does. Now, so it focuses in on an exact target, rather than generically attacking any antigens. And that's what broad spectrum antibiotics do. They kill all kinds of stuff in you. These are produced by bacteria, and they know exactly who they're going to kill, and only kill that one guy. Now the T cells circulate, just as the ribosomes do. They circulate until they encounter their specific antigen, which is the one they want to kill. As such, T cells play a critical part in the immunity to foreign substances. Absolutely. They call them T cells. I would call them enzymes, I think. Okay, so I think I might have a dispute with this. They're saying that the T cells circulate until they encounter a specific antigen. Now, cells indicate to me a little living organism, a cell. Now, I'm talking about enzymes. Are those considered cells, ribosomes? I wouldn't consider them cells. They're not alive. There's no life in there. It's just a chemistry set. So they're saying T cell functions and use. Most common context of T cells is within infectious disease, as is enzymes. They are used for other aspects of adaptive immunity too, as are enzymes. This includes response to allergens and tumors, as are enzymes. They maintain immune homeostasis in humans over decades, but can also be responsible for inflammatory or autoimmune diseases, as can enzymes. The role of T cells is slightly modified throughout the human lifetime. In infancy, naive T cells are critical for developing immunity towards common pathogens. Now they're talking about bacteria. All right, they're critical for developing immunity towards common pathogens or antigens. During this time, long-term reserves of memory T cells are established and can be maintained throughout adulthood. Well, I don't know about that. I think you continuously have to have the bacteria, although we don't know. We don't have a database of different ages and all kinds of different things. I mean, even different races of people are probably going to have different profiles. This is going to take a little bit of work, but we need a database of something that we can compare a sick person to the normal, healthy database. And there's a little work to do. But anyway, it says in adulthood when fewer novel antigens are encountered. So you have a bunch of antigens, which is these invaders you already know about. And now new ones, antigen invaders, are encountered. They function mainly to maintain homeostasis and immunoregulation. They're good for you. Of repeat or chronological encounter antigens. There's also some focus on surveillance for tumors during this stage in life. So they should be coming in to look after stuff. Apparently, that's the way I'm taking it. Later in life, the functionality of T cells decreases, which adds to the dysregulation of the immune system and associated pathologies. Well, why would T cells decrease, or the functionality of them decrease? What makes them functional? Enzymes. Where do the enzymes come from? They come from bacteria. Now, T cell activation and mechanism. Now, T cells originate in the bone marrow but are matured in the thymus. So they're undergoing all kinds of chemical activity. However, they are not activated until they find their specific antigen. So they're making, these sound like ribosomes to me. They bind to this antigen, the invader, on the surface of the antigen, presenting cells, APCs. Typically, several types of T cells are involved. Yeah, because they're all different types of enzymes. CD4 helper T cells and CD8 cytotoxic T cells. Together they form the MHC complex. The activation of T cells is not always as binding to these both helper T cells and cytotoxic T cells. Helper T cells sound like vitamins. T cells sound like enzymes. Vitamins, as I discovered just recently, are coenzymes. They cooperate with enzymes. Both helper T cells, which would be coenzymes, and cytotoxic T cells, which is the enzymes, The two types of the same T cells need secondary signals to become fully activated and be effective. These are all enzyme reactions. They're provided by several molecules, such as this, which activate helper T cells. This is all like methylation and turning the signals on and activating the gene sequences. All right, in general, there are three types of T cells: cytotoxic, helper, and regulatory. All of these must react to foreign antigens strongly to be effective for immunity. Yes, absolutely. You need all of these, and they are products of bacterial enzymes. T cells with a strong reaction are also given survival signals by several molecules. So there's a whole network of molecular interactions based on half-lives, based on enzymes, with those half-lives of just boom, do 1,000 years of chemistry in a half a second. These are only expressed on a T cell surface following binding with the antigen to ensure it is only active after response to the pathogen. That's why the ribosome pops open. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. They call them T cells. After activation, communication occurs in the form of cytokines. Now, cytokines, well, let me just keep going. The cytokines decide what form of responder the cells turn into. All right, that's what they're saying. What type of responder these cells turn into, these T cells. Helper T cells become Th12 or IL-17 types. Each of these types has its own role in the continued development of further immune responses. So they're just giving them names, and they're different enzymes as far as I'm concerned. Helper T cells, they're some form of an enzyme. Now, they've been talking about coenzymes being vitamins. And I looked at them, and yes, they're very complicated. B12 is an exotic molecule. So this is maybe they're talking about vitamins. I don't know what they're talking about. But you need to have these enzymes to break down all these cells. So the T cells in COVID-19. So COVID-19 is invading you, because the clearing of a virus, which is COVID-19 virus infection, depends on an effective immune response. You gotta fight back. T cells have again come into focus following the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, boosting the function and quantity of these cells is important for patients to ensure recovery. Initial studies, and how do you boost them? You need more enzymes. How do you get more enzymes? You need the right bacteria. We don't know what the right bacteria is. We don't know which bacteria the guy has or doesn't have. Initial studies indicate there are ways a decrease in T cells in patients with COVID-19 is also related to the severity of the disease, with 70% of non-ICU patients having decreased levels. And it goes on and on, with 95% of patients showing a decreased in total T cells and CD4 T cells. 100% of ICU patients, 100%, also had decreased CD8 T cell levels. All right, as far as I'm concerned, either the cells are producing the ribosomes, and these cells are literally bacteria. I'm going to take a look at CD8, and let's take a look and see what it is. All right, it looks like it's heavily involved in apoptosis. CD cells T, CD8 T cells. Now, the important thing, here it is, apoptosis, the target cell. Somewhere down it talks about killing, all right? Serial killing. The third major function is the CD8 T cell destruction of infected cells via facile interactions. It goes and just rips them, wipes them out. Yep.
Yeah.
You see this? This is incredible. It's exactly what I've been saying. And they call them cells. Now, they're saying, here's what they do. These little granules, which are the ribosomes, they bump up against their cell membrane, and then they respond. Now, the CD8 T cells are able to release their granules, kill an infected cell, and move on to a new target and kill again, often referred to as a serial killing. That's exactly what an enzyme does. There's no difference. See, I get these all day long, over and over and over. This one's about unique signature discovered. New Mayo Clinic research reveals molecular clues to Alzheimer's disease. I'm saying it's going to be bacterial clues. What bacteria is not creating the chemical. This is incredible. I never realized this. You see all these different CD4 helper T cells and T cells, this and that. Well, these are all T cells. Well, guess what they are? Those are the enzymes. They're literally, these are the ribosomes. And they release the enzymes. Basically, that's what's going on here. And they got all these different T cells. They're not really alive. I can't find anything that says they're alive. They do the immune responses. So they're just giving them all names. All they are is different bacteria-produced enzymes. And they're just saying they're produced here or there, or I don't know if they know where they come from. But CD8 killer cells are the serial killers that go around killing all the... I mean, there's a ton of these, and not only do they work in the immune system, but they work in digesting your foods and all that stuff. But they work with the immune cells, autoimmune responses, and all that stuff. All these are is enzymes created by bacteria that create the ribosomes, and then these end up being the enzymes. I think I should call this episode Enzymes by Any Other Name. It's still an enzyme. See, they call ribosomes living cells. Well, ribosomes break open and introduce the enzyme. Now, is that a living cell? I don't think it eats anything. I don't think it does anything. I think it just lays around doing nothing. But it's got all these little things on it, on the outside of it, these little hairs, that if it gets touched by the wrong thing, it does its job. Or somebody recruits it and brings it over to where it says there's a whole bunch of bad guys over there, just go find them. And it digs around and pow. And then it just keeps banging. A serial killer. Boom, 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 boom. All they're talking about is enzymes, which are from the bacteria. You don't have the bacteria, you're not going to have the enzyme. You don't have the enzymes, you don't have all these T cells. These T cells are the things that protect you in your immune system. It's exactly what I'm talking about. They just gave it a new name. Okay, I believe AI is wrong once again. I asked, are these T8 lymphocytes living cells? It says yes, they are, also known as cytotoxic lymphocytes, or CD8 plus cells, which are living white blood cells, part of the immune system. I disagree with that. The white blood cell houses the CD8 enzymes, ribosomes basically, and they were created by some bacteria. And then in these immune cells, they house those balls. And I can actually show you that happening. I guess I should. All right, but the T8 lymphocytes are genetically programmed to produce a unique cell receptor that binds to peptides from endogenous antigens, somebody coming in to try to kill you. And then they bind to them, and then they kill the infected cells and tumors by inducing apoptosis, which is, they're breaking it down. That's what apoptosis is. It's programmed cell death, they call it. I see it just as flesh-eating bacteria. It comes in, it kills the thing. I don't think it's programmed to do it. It's programmed because of the touch on the surface. It says, whoop, we got a problem here. This thing's exhibiting some kind of bad vibes, some bad chemistry. Boom, kills it. All right, let's just go through the COVID issue with long COVID. Its hidden toll. Full body scans reveal long-term immune effects. Well, it's showing to me like these dark areas are the areas that show heavy T cell activity. Here's what they say. Long COVID is a brutal illness without a known mechanism or cure. Far from being psychosomatic in nature, a new study adds weight to the idea that this misunderstood disease is very much biological. Something's happening in the body, and these looks like what's being affected by these organs in this area, these particular type of tissues. Now, the lingering toll of SARS-2 virus exacts on the immune system is widespread and hiding in plain sight. They just haven't noticed this before, argues a researcher at the University of California, San Diego. Cell site technologies at Kaiser Permanente, South San Francisco Medical Center. When 24 patients, now listen to this carefully, 24 patients who had recovered from COVID-19 had their whole body scanned by a PET scan, positron emission tomography, which is an imaging test. Their insides lit up like Christmas trees, all right? Which, the reason, because, well, I'm going to explain. A radioactive drug called a tracer revealed abnormal T cell activity in the brain. Well, in the brain stem, in the spinal cord, in the bone marrow, in the nose, throat, and some lymph nodes, heart, lung tissue, and, this is the big one, the wall of the gut. Now, compared to the rest of the body scans from before the pandemic. So they turned like really changed. Now, let's talk about this. This is really important. What they could see was a collection of these tracer molecules that appear to attach to these abnormal T cell or attached to T cells. And then they all showed up, poof, they lit up like a Christmas tree in these different sites. The brain stem, the spinal cord, bone marrow, nose, throat, some of the lymph nodes, heart, lung tissue, and the wall of the gut. Now, what did all these things have to do? And what's the commonality of all of them? They're all to every different place in the body. Well, the commonality is something broke through the membranes. And there must be some commonality to these particular types of membranes, and especially the wall of the gut, because this is where you destroy your good gut bacteria. And then you go for the long COVID forever. Until you can reestablish your good gut bacteria, you're done. And so that's the one I say is the most important. The rest, which fall in line, I believe, if once you establish your good gut bacteria. But the rest are just offshoots of having a bad gut and not being able to process your foods. And you're going to have diarrhea, nausea, all kinds of, maybe constipation, who knows what. But you're going to have, your digestive issues will be something terrible. And they say that, and most doctors don't even realize or think about asking about the gut behavior. All right, once again, this is just research, but this is a new article, was just out in 2024 here. What do we know about COVID-19's effect on the gut? It's just, I'm just going to read you this one little clip here. It says, not just a respiratory infection. COVID can cause symptoms throughout the body. Gastrointestinal symptoms are common in both acute and long COVID. Gastrointestinal. Gut issues often persisting long after initial infection. The bacteria in your gut has been so altered that it's no longer effective enough to break your foods down, to do all the things that cause the digestion, to make your poop correctly. So you're going to have diarrhea or constipation or all kinds of issues with your stomach, bloating and gas, and all kinds of things will happen because you're not digesting your food. And you may be able to digest some kinds of foods and not some others. It depends on how your gut was damaged. But most of these people have all kinds of issues with a whole variety of tissues. and the lining of the gut has a certain type of mucous membrane, and there's going to be some similarity between these membranes and COVID, why they're attacking these particular membranes. All right, so what was I just talking about? Killer T cells. T cells are killers. I said, are ribosomes T cells? Yes, they are. T cells contain ribosomes. T cells are the ribosomes, basically, that go out and kill things. Now, so the T cells are ribosomes, which means ribosomes are enzymes. So T cells have to be enzymes. Now let's just take a look at something real quick. This is just way over the top cool. T cells are ribosomes. Well, where our ribosomes come from? They come right here from bacteria. Bacteria create ribosomes. That's the only place they come from. And the ribosomes, and bacteria are the factories that create these ribosomes. The ribosomes blossom into enzymes. So here's what happens with a ribosome. There's the ribosomes, the little balls. They come out like this. And when their chemistry of their surface touches something that trips them, they pop open with the sheath. And then they turn into an enzyme or a protein. Same thing, except this one builds muscles and protein. You know, it's a protein product. It's a building block. This is a destroyer. The enzyme just comes out and it smashes, kills, destroys. This builds things. Anyway, so one or the other, but every single bacteria has a certain program built into that little ball. And if the program says, I'm a killer, when it unsheaths, it kills something. But the surface of it has some little chemistry there that says only unsheath when you run into whatever it is that you want to kill or break down. And because this is for breaking down food, killing invaders, all that stuff. This is for making muscles and bones and, you know, tissues and all that stuff. All right, here's the key. Everybody talks about the blood-brain barrier, where your brain can't have any big molecules come up like these. They're just way too big to get through that barrier, but these are not. You know you need to be able to build tissue, so you know you need proteins and so forth to get up in your brain. You know you need enzymes to break down waste products and so forth. That has to get into your brain. But instead of coming through like these, they come through like this. So they can get through the blood-brain barrier. So in other words, it's this size here. When it gets through to the other side, it sits around and waits inside of the cells. I'll show you in a second. And if it gets turned on, it goes bloop, like that. And then it's just too big. It would have never gotten into the brain in the first place. So the only way it can get in is a ribosome. A ribosome is not going to do anything whatsoever. Nothing. It's zero. It's dead. It literally is dead. It's a package of chemistry, but it has a zipper on it. And if you hit it with the right chemistry, zip, it opens up and boop, pops into this. That's the key. They can sit in these cells forever, it appears. All right, remember, T cells contain the ribosomes. And they're macromolecular machines, huge molecules. And they are literally machines that synthesize proteins in all cells. Synthesize means break down and rebuild into something synthetically almost, but it's done by your body. They synthesize proteins. The proteins are what we were just talking about that are from the enzymes. All right, because they can break down into, remember, let's just be sure we understand each other. All right, when the ribosome comes out and unsheaths, it can come to an enzyme or it can come into a protein. All right, so right now we're talking about proteins. Now, either they don't realize it or they're just skipping over it, but proteins are enzymes. It's basically the same thing. So they synthesize these products, let's call them products, in all cells. Ribosomes are made up of two subunits, large and small. Each subunit contains ribosomal proteins and ribosomal RNA. molecules. When activated, T cells invest a lot of energy into ribosome biogenesis. You know what biogenesis is? Let's just see what. Let's just take a look at what the definition of biogenesis is. You see this? I agree with this 100%. The hypothesis of biogenesis is that living matter arises only from other living matter. Everything you consume was alive at one time, in one way or another. Everything. All right, all organs that secrete something secrete basically based on enzymes and so forth. Now, the liver creates bile. The bile sits here in the gallbladder, and the bile helps you to digest foods. It pretty much, I think, makes things into fluids. I mean, more fluidy. And your gallbladder is part of your digestive system. The main function is to store the bile in that little bubble there. The bile helps your digestive system break down fats. So this is involved in fats. Okay, the gallbladder. And here's your small intestine right here, and it dumps right in right at this point to break down the fats. Now, if you don't have the right kind of bacteria in there, and the right kind of salts, and the right kind of chemistry to attack these fats, and there's all kinds of different fats, and not just one kind of fat, and there's all kinds of different enzymes that attack different ones. It's just like the CD4 and the CD8 and all these different ones that come out of other areas of your body. This is going to create a different type of enzyme because it's attacking fat. In the other areas, they're attacking invaders, or they're attacking foods of different sorts, proteins, carbohydrates, sugars. But every organ in your body, basically, the ones that create secretions are going to secrete them because of enzymes, because of bacteria. And you want to know about bacteria? Let me show you something about bacteria. You see this? Now, the Human Microbiome Project they're looking into what actually is in the human microbiome. Micro means small, biome means living things, and they're living inside of us. Well, what is inside of us? Estimates there are more than 10,000 species of bacteria, way more, in the human body. And they make up 70 to 90% of all the cells in the human body, and 99% of the body's unique genes. So they have a genetic pool on their own, different than the humans, but it's 99% of the genes, which means that those are programs. Genes are programs. That's all it is. A gene is a program. So they have 99% of the programming in us is controlled by bacteria. 99%. The collection of microbial communities known as the microbiome, these are all microbes in the stomach, basically. Well, it's throughout the whole body, but really concentrated in the gut. It's known as the microbiome, has evolved with humans to help regulate basic life processes from birth. Yes, the microbiome has all of these chemistries. 99% of the body's unique genes, and this is all that gene is. All that, literally, I'm not kidding you, it's a molecular chemistry code. That's what it is. If you turn it on, it says make this chemistry to do this, whatever job it is. And it probably says make 6 grams of it, whatever it is. Something tells that gene to turn on, and then that gene has a program within it that does all kinds of things. You see this? DNA is the entire program that controls your body, your structure, your way of thinking. Every single thing about you is in that DNA. Now, that's the genetic program encoded in our genomes, which is the DNA, defines our lives, from health and body strength to mental abilities and behaviors. Every single thing is in that code. Now, it is not possible to read the program with WGS with increasing efficiency. I don't care about that. But you can look at it. You can see the code. You can see them. And I had a DNA test done on my specimens, and it did read the codes. But there's much more to this than what they're saying. They can read these codes. Yes, they can read the sequences. But what is that code actually? How does it work once it trips off? You may be able to increasingly see the completeness of the code, and it may have a string of particles this long. But what does it do? I know exactly what the particles are. They're going to be the same ones every single time if it's from that gene. But what does that gene do? That's the key. How sophisticated is it? You see this here? I don't necessarily agree with this. This is what are genes. Genes are general, direct, specific processes in the body by coding for proteins. So the gene sequence itself sets up a code to make proteins. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I say it's not necessarily the gene in the body. It's the bacteria that makes the proteins. And the gene doesn't set up any code for proteins. The bacteria has its own protein code. However, the gene must know when it encounters this particular type of ribosome, which has this particular type of cell membrane. Here's what we do with it. It is an instruction manual after it receives the ribosome. So the gene it can code for who knows what, but I believe primarily the gene is the process, it directs the process of what you do when you get that ribosome. That's what really a gene is. It's like a service manual. You say, well, when you get one of these things and it has all these little codes on the outside, 2 of these sticking off that way and 3 of these sticking off that way and 2 over this way. You see one of those, here's what you do with it. All right? So the gene is the program manual. After that says, okay, I saw that. Here's what you do with it. So break this off and send this over here and do this and do that and do that. But it's not the producer of the specific ribosome. The ribosome comes first. The gene deals with it, with its program. Okay, I took up the study of literally programming of the human body, which is genomics, and I actually took it with Stephen Salzberg at Johns Hopkins University, analyzing the genomes and what it is, how are they constructed, what's these sequences, what do they control, if from here to here, and what is the beginning and the end sequences that determines what a chunk of DNA is, and what actually turns on what and turns off what, and what is the variations of these different codes can cause who knows what, and then intervening into these codes is a little tricky too. But I did take the course with him, and this is, so I understand genomics. I understand what it does. It's just nothing more than a program. That's it. Okay, this is Stephen Salzberg, and this is from Johns Hopkins on computational genomics. Here it goes.
For 25 years now, DNA sequencing has been moving ahead at a pace that has exceeded the pace of really any other technology that we have. Since the human genome appeared in 2001, sequencing technology has actually gotten something like 500,000 times faster and cheaper than even it was then. And that's required a lot of very clever advances in computational methods in order to keep up with all this data and make sense of all this data. DNA sequencing technology, despite all the advances, still only reads DNA in small chunks, but they can't read a whole chromosome from end to end. We've designed computer programs we call assemblers to assemble these raw reads together to reconstruct the genome. We design the assemblers and we also run them to put together genomes of all sorts of things, ranging from viruses and bacteria, which have very small genomes, to plants and animals, which have very large genomes. This year, we're working on 2 of the largest genomes ever sequenced that also happen to be 2 of the largest organisms, the giant sequoia and the coast redwood tree genomes. The data is changing, and the data sets are getting ever bigger, and the speed at which DNA sequencing is getting more efficient, higher throughput, has been outpacing the speed at which computers have been getting faster for 15 years now. We've really been designing algorithms and then implementing them in software that are much more efficient and 10 times faster or 50 times faster or even 100 times faster than the state of the art. And that's made a big difference in the kind of analyses people can do. Pretty much in everything we do, we're pushing the field ahead and we're trying to be leaders. And I think it's fair to say that many people in the computational biology community kind of look to us for that kind of leadership. Our most translational project by far is our work trying to use sequencing to diagnose infections. When you go to your doctor with a sore throat, you should cough into a piece of filter paper and we should sequence that and then tell you what you have. What drew me to Hopkins was the chance to be also part of the medical school and this world-class medical institution, which is certainly one of the best in the world. I'm working with people in the pathology department and a couple other infectious disease groups to try to actually show that we can take the technology, put all the pieces together, and go from a patient sample to a diagnosis. So that's what's distinctive about Hopkins for my work, because I'm bridging engineering and medicine. It's important for me to have medical researchers who I can work with who are at the top of their field.
I'm willing to work with you, Stephen. And I'm going to tell you right now, I understand, and again, I've discussed things with Stephen Salzberg about woolly mammoth, but the ribosomes, they're the enzymes. And you don't get the ribosomes without the bacteria. It all starts with the bacteria. So that's where we should start, is getting a bacterial database and find out what bacteria is. Already now starting to do that. I know they already have. And they have found several bacteria that are specific for several different types of cancers and all kinds of things. And because each bacteria is going to be responsible for creating a different type of material, like some of them will create membrane material, phospholipids. Some of them will create bone material and tendons and all kinds of different things. And each one of those has to be very good and good stuff, and everything will work together fine. If you got one weak link, and then you got a little bit of some problems, it depends on how bad it gets. But and then there's also the tightness of the cell membranes. They call them tight and loose junctions. So you have to be able to move. So the cells have to be able to sort of tug against each other, but they have to stay tight so they don't invade through them. And, you know, like your skin, you move these around, and it's okay. You have to do that. It's going to happen. But underneath that skin, you don't want to be able to move this around and have a bad guy just pop right through there. You want that to be some slurpy, and it's called slurpy, small leucine-rich proteins. They're gummy substances, and they adhere around the cells, and they sort of stretch and move and do all this stuff, but they stay together and don't open up. But that requires a certain type of mucus, and that's big news now. In the news is all mucus stuff now. They're starting to understand that the immune system is nothing more than a barrier, and it's the fluid-filled highway primarily. Now this is what shocked me. T cells are actually enzymes. T cells are the killer cells that destroy cancers and so forth, and they want to pump them up, and they're seeing them. Well, you know what? Let me show you the research on it. All right, remember we're talking about T cells, killer T cells. Well, hold on. All right, what we're talking about is T cells. This is a PET tracer, shows T cell activation in the body. These are T cells being activated. All right. Now, this is COVID's hidden toll. This is a full body scan revealed long-term immune effects. T cells indicate, when you have a lot of T cell activity, it means there's some kind of biological invasion or something's going on here. There's some kind of damage. Okay, I just showed you there's a lot of T cell activity. Now, they're talking about this today. Long COVID increasingly recognizes having neurological underpinnings. The recent discovery of T cell abnormalities in the spinal cord and brain stem suggests these overactive immune cells are being trafficked to tissues of the central nervous system. These are these enzymes that are trying to attack something. T cells are the enzymes. The enzymes are being sent out there to do a job to attack something that they're not able to attack. So there's a lot of activity out there, but you don't have the right type of bacterial enzyme to do the job. And you're being overwhelmed by the bad guys. Some people it doesn't happen to. They have COVID and they get over it and they're okay. Some people have it forever. And it's because, in my estimation, they do not have the correct bacteria to fight those invaders with the correct enzymes. Enzymes are the key. All right, and the enzymes are the T cells. And that's exactly what they say. You need the right T cells. And this is all T cell inflammation. All this is from T cells. All right, see, well, in some individuals, activity may persist for years following COVID-19. Together, these observations suggest even clinically mild infection could have long-term consequences on tissue-based immune homeostasis. That means just everything stays cool. And potentially result in an active viral reservoir in deeper tissue. So you could have this persist in you because you still never had the real correct enzymes to attack and kill it. And you have not become immune. Now that's what the whole thing about the shots and so forth is, to become immune from this so that your body creates something that's going to kill these invaders. All right, now, they can't explain any of this stuff. Currently defined, a host of unexplained symptoms appear after infection lasting months or even years with no other known cause. Diagnosed extremely tricky, as there can be more than 200 symptoms, which often overlap with other illnesses such as brain fog. Here's the key though: external malaise, fatigue, memory loss, diarrhea. You're going to have a gut issue almost exclusively when you have long COVID. And you're going to have you're going to have some kind of an issue if you have gut problems. Something's not going to be right in you. You're going to be much more happy and bouncy and productive, and all the good things in life happen when your immune system is protecting you and creating the right kind of juices to juice you up when you need to be juiced up and keep you unjuiced when you need to be unjuiced. And that's exactly what they do. They are squirters. All of these different organs that squirt out secretions of hormones and all that stuff. Well, a guy had just ate a cheeseburger. Oh man, there's fat all over the place. Nope, there goes the fat. But if that organ's not working right because the bacteria is not in there for the enzyme, you don't have any, it goes and nothing happens. All right, I'm going to run through a couple of quick things real quick. These are from some notes I took today. T cells are ribosomes. These are the ribosomes right here. That's what T cells are. All right, now those ribosomes go out into the body, into the fluids of the body. All right, all these ribosomes. See ribosomes? Inside this, there's about a bazillion little tiny balls in here, and they're all ribosomes floating around in what's called a cytoplasm. Okay, those little ribosome balls are found floating free in the cytoplasm of the cells, the inside fluids in the cells. They're also attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. That's on the outside of the cell. And those ribosomes sense an invader, that type of thing. Ribosomes receive information from the cell nucleus and construction materials from the cytoplasm. They have all the things they need to do what they need to do when they become enzymes. Ribosomes translate information encoded in messenger ribonucleic acid, and then they send them out to do whatever they need to be done. All right, this is quite a long paper, but this is what all it's saying is that T cell proliferation, which means making lots of T cells, requires ribosome maturation in nuclear condensates dependent on whatever that is, some other enzyme. Now, this says T cells require rapid proliferation to initiate adaptive immunity, to adapt immunity to things, to prevent pathogen attacks. So that's how you become immune. So your T cells need rapid proliferation. You got to respond to these attacks, otherwise you're going to get dead. The nucleolus, which is the center, a distinct subnuclear membraneless compartment for ribosomal biogenesis, to create life, is indispensable for cell proliferation. Now, in other words, the ribosomes are creating new DNA. It's creating new life. The ribosome biogenesis is creating life from other life. And the bacteria are what actually create new life. They're the ones that evolve. Because when you get attacked by something new, you have to make, like this new COVID thing. There's no fighting back against it because there's no immunity to it. So your adaptive immunity must kick in right away. Now, why would it kick in right away? Why did some people never even get it? And then the guy right next to him gets it like that. Well, some people are already damaged in their immune system. They have leaky gut. They have all kinds of issues. They don't have the right enzymes. They got digestive problems. Yes, they're going to get it much easier. But the other guy might get it too. However, his immunity kicks in very quick and attacks the pathogens. So he doesn't remain sick. And long COVID, in my estimation, means you do not have the enzymes to fight off these invaders, which are still active in your body, because there's nobody fighting back. And you just keep getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And I'm telling you, some people, they're just, this physics girl, she was very good. She was going all over, doing real great on YouTube. And I think she's still very, very sick. And I think she needs, well, I'm not going to say anything because that's not my position. But I can tell you one thing. Gut bacteria, in my mind, is the only thing that works fast enough to do anything in your body, which is the enzymes. The enzymes are from the bacteria. If you don't have the bacteria, and we don't know what bacteria you need. We do not know this. It's unknown what is the normal bacteria. Or if it is known, it's something that has not been widely disseminated. I mean, I've seen reports saying we know this, we know that. Well, somebody's got to put it together and find out what we really do know. Because from what I can see, we don't know much of anything at this point. You know, they don't understand how important these enzymes are and the bacteria. The bacteria, you don't have the bacteria, you're done. That's the end of the story. Once you have the bacteria, and it creates the enzyme, and then something doesn't go right, then it's a different story. Then you might have a gene issue, or you may have some other issue. But if all your bacteria are correct, and all your chemistry is correct, and your digestion is correct, and you poop correctly, that's the key. If you're regular, and you poop regular, and everything's good, you should be good. That's digestion. All right, so anyway, this is talking about T cell proliferation. You have to have them. And they are the enzymes. And the enzymes come from the bacteria. 100,000 times I say this. You don't have the bacteria, you don't have the enzymes. You don't have the enzymes, which are the T cells. You do not attack your invaders. When I said before about the ribosomes being attached to the outside surface, absolutely they are. And they are the sensors that trip that ribosome to open up into an enzyme. But they're also inside that layer. So there's a layer that goes around the whole ball. So they have them on the outside and the inside, which you do on every one of your layers of every tissue in your body. Even your red blood cells have a phospholipid membrane. It surrounds all your blood cells. All right, look at this. This is the assistant bot. Red blood cells have a plasma membrane. They all have that bilipid plasma membrane. And it contains transmembrane proteins. Proteins are the enzymes that serve various functions necessary for the survival and proper functioning of the cell. Now listen to this. Some reasons why the red blood cell plasma membrane needs transmembrane proteins include... All right, so we know we have a membrane that surrounds the whole thing. And it's got a layer of fluids in there. Now, this transmembrane, things can go in and out. So the transport of molecules through this transmembrane, proteins such as ion channels, transporters facilitate the movement of these ions. An ion just means a charged particle, which are nutrients and other molecules across the plasma membrane. Now they must get charged up somehow, because they facilitate the movement of ions. An ion means something that's charged. All right, now, the red blood cells, it's crucial for maintaining the cell's internal environment, regulating osmotic balance, and ensuring the proper exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon. They're extremely crucial, elegant balance, but it's all done by these proteins. Contains these proteins, which are the enzymes. They serve various functions. Yes, they make the thing work. Every single cell in your body has one of these layers around it, wrapping around the whole thing. And inside every single cell, you have all this stuff here. Golgi apparatus and mitochondria and all kinds of things. And of course, in the cytoplasm, you have the ribosomes. They're showing a couple little dots in here. This thing is saturated with ribosomes. Now, all this stuff we're talking about, all these fluids and enzymes and so forth, flow through this fluid-filled highway. And this was not even known that there was one of these until 2018. There was an article out, Meet Your Interstitium, a Newfound Organ, which is this fluid-filled highway. Prior to this, when they autopsied them, they were flat like a pancake. They thought it was just a flat layer of thick, just like a thick layer. It's hard. Well, it wasn't. It was a fluid-filled highway, but by the time they got it, the fluid was out. Now, this is where all the enzymes and bacteria flow around your body. That's how now they call it the largest organ in the body. And it's one continuous fluid-filled highway. And I've been studying this for quite some time because I found this in my fossil research. But this dark layer right here, I believe, is where the bacteria and the enzymes end up going. Now, what all these balls are, I think these are the interstitium balls that allow your skin to go this way and that way and come back to where these balls are anchored. But there's going to be a place where there's all these little tiny ribosomes. As a matter of fact, I can show you this let me do it. Okay, this is from a channel called Seeker. And this guy's name is Gokul. He's at the University of California, UC Berkeley, I believe. Now, he says he remembers a moment his hair stood up on his hands. Now, I have this no sound, but I'm just going to show you. This is the inside That right there is a microscopic universe within each cell. And it's unprecedented. Nobody's ever seen this before. Now, here's the other thing. It's a microscopic universe, each cell. Now, this right here, I believe, is a white blood cell. And this is a fluid-filled highway. And this is, let me show you what I think it is. I could be wrong, but I think this is what it is. This right here is where the bacteria live, in those white blood cells, right in this area. And they squirt up into the fluid-filled highway and take off with their enzymes. And here's why I say that. Go call, where'd you go, my friend? Here you are. All right, so here we go. That's, I believe, a standard white blood cell. And inside of this is going to be all kind of enzymes. You don't see them now because they're not lit up. He doesn't have it in the light up mode. Now he's going to show it. All right, here it goes now. So now he can view the cellular world where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars. Well, I don't believe it's sugars. I believe these are all the enzymes. Now let me slow this down. Playback speed, let's go to 25%. Now let's come back here just a smidge so we can see this again. All right, here we go. Now it's just barely moving now. Now, because these things move fast, because this is real time. You see what it's doing? It's scooping up all these little cells. It's going and grabbing them all up, and it's got a ton of them in its stomach. And then all of a sudden, it'll squirt out. Watch. All right, there's going to be one take off here in a second. There it goes. You see, it's got a whole bunch of these little balls. And I don't know, he just popped out of somewhere inside that cell. And now it's going to go right out into the fluid-filled highway. See it? Zip! Straight out. All right, now he's saying there's two types of cells. There's one like this that just sort of squishes around and doesn't eat anything, he's saying. Well, what it is the signal. All right, this is the one that signals the other ones. And it just comes out with this magnetic signature like this. And it says, anybody out here fit this magnetic code? And if it sees one, it somehow communicates back to the other one to come out and kill the guy. And this is how it does. It scoops all this stuff up, runs around through the body, and squirts right back out here. Watch, watch. And they have flagella on them. Well, I can't see it. Anyway, that's what it is. All right, every single cell is saturated with these different ribosomes, and they only trigger off when they're told to trigger off. And they open up and they create these huge molecules. These molecules cannot get through the blood-brain barrier. So if they get activated down below in the body, they can't get up through. What happens is the ribosomes, they just go up there and they just flood through there as much as you need. And then they go and settle inside of the cytoplasm and are everywhere inside here. They're just everywhere. There's thousands and millions of them probably. Those are the ribosomes. The lysosomes are the thing that triggers the ribosomes to go out and become activated. Now the lysosome probably can trigger thousands of different reactions in here because you need thousands of different things done. You know, you got to take out the trash, you got to clean the dishes, you got to wash the windows, you got to wash the floors, you got to feed the dog, you got to, you know, I mean, there's a million things you got to do. So, or every one of those is a process of a ribosome, which is the enzyme which makes chemistry, and the chemistry facilitates the final thing done because of the genome sequence. So it's a big line of things. You have to have the bacteria, which makes the ribosome, which makes the enzyme, which makes the chemistry, and then the chemistry does whatever the chemistry has to do. Break something down, build something up, whatever it is. So there's a lot of links to it, but as long as you have the right bacteria, everything just gets done correctly. It's just the process of how life works. I study a lot on this, and I've engaged with a lot of people. And like I think I told you about Andy. I'm going to have a discussion with him today, shortly, as a matter of fact. And virtually nobody knows about this fluid-filled highway and its significance to the enzymes and the ribosomes and the immunities. They're like nothing. It's just like it's just one of those things. Oh yeah, another one of those things. No, it's not. This is the thing. It's not another one of those things. This is the thing. And they've been starting to do some research on this, and they found that it does. They know for a fact the bacteria has a strong effect on the outcome of all kinds of diseases. And fecal matter transplants appear to fix almost anything. They won't allow you to have one of those. Probiotics. All right, I'm going to leave it at this, but just ask your doctors if they know about the fluid-filled highway and the enzymes and the interaction between the membranes, the enzymes, and the fluid-filled highway and the bacteria. I can't guarantee anything, but I doubt whether they're going to know anything about it, or they will just give you sort of a, quick answer. Oh, of course I know about that. Anyway, this is important. This is serious business. And if you don't have that enzyme, you are not going to get the chemistry. That thing breaks things down. I was looking at some statistics about how quick an enzyme works. An enzyme is a catalyst. A catalyst means it increases the activity exponentially, and I mean exponentially. They said some of these chemical reactions would not happen for millions of years except for the catalyst. Other ones would be 400 years, that type of thing. The catalyst makes it happen in less than a second. It's unbelievable how powerful these things are. And that's the only way you can step through all of the different chemistry to make your body work, to come down and break down all the foods and kill the invaders and, create all the mood chemicals you need to make you comfortable and happy and all that stuff. I mean, it's everything. It's 100% right up to the line. Every single thing, and it all starts with that guy right there, bacteria. All right? And they're good bacteria. Now, the bad bacteria can hurt you, yes, absolutely. But your good bacteria, you've got such a huge fluid-filled highway in your body, because every single organ, everything is covered by that lymph, which is the fluid-filled highway. So if you're getting invaded, like this guy here, he's getting invaded. He sends up all these guys through the fluid-filled highway to attack these invaders. I don't care how many invaders you have. You have 4 times as much lymph in your body fluids than blood. This is the stuff that carries everything around in you, basically. The blood does too, yes. But this is where all your immunities are primarily. And so you should never lose the fight. How are you going to lose it if you got all good attackers and they come back? They're just going to keep killing and killing and killing. I don't care how long. It take a little while, you kill them. But if you don't have a good, healthy reserve of these attackers, you're going to get overwhelmed, and then it's going to start eating through the bone and all that other stuff. See, this is not a bad package, but it's missing some things. You have the DNA, which is the bacterial DNA, which is programmed to make an exact code. And that exact code is like one of these, however long that is. And it comes out like this, and it comes in to the ribosome, which is that ball, all right? And it goes chick, 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 and it programs that ball. So now you have a ribosome, all right, from the bacteria creating a ribosome. Well, that's fine. That's wonderful. That is magnificent. So now we have a ribosome. Now, how does the ribosome get to where it's got to go? I'm pretty sure now, that they just float around through the body. And wherever they're needed, they start collecting in these cells. So every cell in your body, there's all kinds of different cells. There's all kinds of different cells in your body. Just, you know, your lungs, your kidneys, your heart, your respiratory system. Everything it has a different little bit of a structure to it. So they're going to float around these ribosomes. Here they are right here. And that gets squirted out from the bacteria. Now, in my mind, the ribosomes float freely. And they ending up inside the nucleus of, you know, inside here. Okay, this is the whole thing is the nucleus. And these are where the ribosomes are, just in here. Now, I think they enter because they're allowed to enter only certain ones because of these polarities and these protein channels. All right, so there's got to be some intelligence in here. It says, no, I got to keep that guy out. Oh, yeah, come on in here. And then they get a whole bunch of guys in here that are the ribosome chemistry packages. Now, they're not alive. They don't eat anything. They don't do anything. They're just little packages waiting to be opened up. And if one of the signals comes to the lysosome and says, hey, we need 502796P, which is a certain bacterial enzyme, it says, hey, come over here. The guy comes over and he says, you go out and head over to sector 27 and see if you can find the guy that's invading over there and hug up to him and then kill him. And he does. He goes, oh, no. How does he get there? I don't know. Does he get attached to a bacteria and brought over there? I don't know. I don't know. But they end up having to go to where the invasion site is. There's no other way. So they get there somehow. How? Je ne sais pas. I do not know. So don't forget, this goes along with long COVID. As far as I'm concerned, it has to be a bad bacteria. Something, the enzyme is not there to combat this invasive virus. And even here, the cognitive disengagement syndrome. You find it hard to focus. We need a bacterial database. And then all you have to do is say, is this anything to do with bacteria? If it's not, well, you just go on for about life, figure something else out. But if it's clearly the bacteria that everybody has when they have this cognitive disengagement, well, maybe we could put some of that bacteria in. Who knows? All right, I'm going to leave it at this, but I'm going to be talking with Andy, and hopefully we can get this understood. Because I mean, it's a health emergency we have right now. There's no question about that. These kids are having autism, like it's just staggering the amount of kids that are affected by this. And a lot of people, everybody's basically just waiting to get cancer. And Alzheimer's is just about 2 or 3 days away from me. Or maybe I'm already past that stage. But, you know, you need the chemistry. You need the chemistry. If not everybody gets that certain thing, it means you're missing something. Now, is it genetic? Very rarely it is. If you don't turn that gene on, that gene never does anything. And what do you have to do to turn it on? You need enzymes. All right, so let's say you got the enzymes. Everything's fine. I got the enzymes, no problem. All right, turn the gene on. Click, it turns it on. It's called methylation. Click, and the gene says, okay, no problem, I got it. I can take it from here. The gene goes out to find the ribosomes. And it says, where's pi 50279P? And they say, oh, there's no more of that guy. He's gone. I said, well, what happened to him? He saw the bacteria, 50297P bacteria, got hit by some whatever it was. And it wiped him right out. He never came back. You know, usually they get hit, they come back. He didn't come back. He just got too whacked. So now we don't have any of that stuff. So I said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, well, not much you can do. Send something else over there. Send something that's close, see what you can do. And that's when they go what's called a cytokine storm. Your body's trying to fight against something it can't fight against. It knows there's infection. It knows there's festering. It knows there's all of these things that indicate an attack, which is you are being attacked, you just can't fight back. So my feeling is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but my feeling is the cytokine storm is the result of trying to do anything possible to mitigate the results of this attack, which you can't attack. You can't do anything because you don't have the bacteria. You don't have the enzymes. So you fight back with everything you have in the body. It creates what they call a cytokine storm. And the body basically attacks itself, trying to kill around this thing so that it can get that thing out of there. Something like that. These cytokine storms are pretty devastating. A lot of people just die from them. But the real root cause is you never could fight back against the original invader, as far as I'm concerned. And even mood disorders, being unhappy, being sad, being depressed. And a lot of that results from constipation. Other stuff results from diarrhea. Different results. And one of them has to do, I believe, with vitamin and such reabsorption. Anyway, I don't want to get into the guessing game. What we need is a bacterial database. We need a bacterial database. What's standard for everybody? What's a normal fecal, microbiomes? What's the microbes? That's all you need. That's it. It's not that big of a deal. Somebody, I think it was Lisa, said, maybe you could build one into a toilet seat. And, I said, that's not a bad idea. You could get your own readout of bacteria every day. Oh, yeah, well, you're a little low on the Lactobacillus acidophilus. You need to up the Lactobacillus reuteri. They all have the same. Well, they don't all have the same. A lot of them have a certain root name, and then they have all the different species that are underneath that. And reuteri they found is pretty important, which was never considered before. And they also found, well, they know this for years, that Lactobacillus acidophilus is a biggie, a real biggie. And now they're starting to find out that vitamins are what you call co-enzymes. The enzymes are the big packages, the gigantic monsters. Vitamins are co-enzymes. You see this? This is vitamin B12. You see the cobalt right in the center here? That cobalt is hanging on to all these different what they call ligands. They're attachments. And they hang around that cobalt as the metallic core. That is an elegant molecule, my friend. And that is a coenzyme. So you've got the correct enzyme. All right, you're getting ready to kill something. But it needs a helper. Like they call them helper T cells. This could be exactly what they're talking about. These are just vitamins. And they're very simple. They're nothing, these are very simple. So they don't have big, broad impact. But this baby here has got some serious looking attachments. And that's what metal cores do. They attach, it's called ligands. It's primarily the transition metals. These metals here. Every one of these is in your blood, every single one. And they carry things around and drop them off because they're charged. They're charged. All right, that little article there was from Matthew Nosenden on ResearchGate. All right, T cells are the killer cells. They come out of the thymus. They think they are created in the thymus. Bacteria create them. The thymus houses them and may spice them up a little bit. I think that's what it does do. But anyway, they're secreted from the thymus into the body, and those are the things that we were talking about before, which are the killer T cells. Now, there's going to be other ones that break down fats and acids and carbohydrates and sugars and do all kinds of other chemistry, and they're going to come from other organs. This is the thymus that creates the T cells. The pancreas is going to do something else. The gallbladder is going to do something. Well, the gallbladder breaks down fats and turns them into soluble, watery substances, which is not exactly the same as an enzyme. They say, who knows? But all of the different organs in your body have a contribution, basically, of enzymes into your body that do some kind of chemistry. That's what they're there for. They secrete. All right, all these organs that are in your body, they're not there just there for no reason. Glands, organs, cells, specialized little things. Secretion is a process by which substances, whatever they are produced and discharged from a cell or a gland or an organ for a particular function in the organism or for excretion. All right, so everything we're talking about is secretion from organs. And a lot of it is these T cells, these fat breaker downers, carbohydrates, proteins, all of that stuff has to be dealt with different chemistry. That's what it's all about. You have different organs that handle different breakdowns. And your liver basically detoxifies, is what I was always told. Now, I got to look into this. But it also discharges bile. Bile goes into the... oh boy. Hold on a second. All right, here it is right here. The bile is in the gallbladder. They say the liver discharges it. I think I have some text on this. Hold on. Secretion. Hold on a second. All right, so the liver dumps the stuff into the gallbladder, and a gallbladder really is what uses the bile. So they say it converts metabolism. It converts food into usable substances, stores them, and supplies them. So that's up in the liver, apparently. Detoxifies. It filters and processes chemicals from food, alcohol, medications, converts toxic substances into harmless substances, or removes them from the body. That's up in the liver. Now, here you go, digestion. It produces bile, a solution that helps digest fats and eliminate waste. That goes down into the gallbladder. We're going to look at it in a second. Immunity. It supports immunity, yes, because there's all kinds of bacteria and enzymes. Vitamin storage. It says it stores vitamins, and that's going to be up in the liver too. Blood clotting. It produces clotting factors to keep the blood flowing well, and that's going to be up in the liver as well. And then you have the gallbladder hanging below the liver. Okay, I guess I'm going to leave it at this. The liver is attached to the gallbladder, but it's also attached to the pancreas. And there's all kinds of chemistry going on down here, all kinds of stuff. These are a lot of the organs, human internal organs, you know, the intestines, the stomach, the kidneys, everything. And they all have a job to do. And every one of them has a specific type of chemistry. Digestion in the small intestine, digestion in the large intestine, the pancreas, even the little piece of the appendix. They say you don't even need that. The appendix is hanging off the large intestine. That's where you store all your excess colon in case something happens to the rest of your gut. You don't necessarily need it, but it's backup bacteria. That's my feeling. Because they never could figure it out. Well, he's just here, it's just hanging off by accident. No, it's not there. It's there to store a pocket full of vital bacteria in case something happens to the rest of your gut. Okay, I gotta really run. I gotta get ready for my buddy Andy. Okay, thank you, my good friends. I'm gonna have a good discussion with Andy about this, and he is the expert. He could be one of the top leading experts in the world. Like I say, it's a triple PhD. He's in this. He doesn't just talk about it. He's engaged in this business. So he's going to be very, very helpful, and he has been for years. All right, we will talk later, my friends. Thank you. I love you all. Bye.